everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Talk It Out with Pritika Kharkwal, a place to hear stories, experiences, and impact in the field of mentoring and mental health. These two are one of the most important causes for today's youth. I'm your host, Pritika Kharkwal, a current high schooler who is a passionate advocate and is here to provide you with a place to hear and learn from the inspiring experiences of our guests. We have here with us today Khatidja Karimi, Manager of Events at the Mentor National Organization. Khatidja is a college alumni at Columbia University, where she got her bachelor's in international relations and affairs. And Mentor is a nonprofit that's founded to expand opportunity for young people by building a youth mentoring field and movement in the United States. Now, for a very cool fact about the Mentor organization, it oversees something called the National Corporate Mentoring Honor Roll, which recognizes outstanding U.S. corporations that support the youth mentoring field. And the honor roll was first launched by First Lady Michelle Obama in 2011. So Mentor's impact is spreading to the community for sure. Khatidja, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're excited to dive deeper into mentoring with you. Now, enough of me talking. Let's get to know a little bit more about our guests. So, Khatidja, tell us a bit about your education, early career, and any mentor in your life.
Yeah, so I'm Khatidja. I'm Mentor's events manager. I have been at Mentor for about a year and 7 months. I was born in Texas.
That's
Um,
right.
oh yeah, great. Moved to Chicago, and then moved to Boston for high school. And then I went to college in New York, as you mentioned, at Barnard, and then moved back home in Boston. So education-wise, I was in a mix of public and private schools. My parents always had this thought that if you're in a private school, it's like a better education system. However, my favorite time was in the one and only public school I went to in Chicago. So I've been around, I've bounced around different places, different school systems. And I'm excited to be here. A mentor in my life, you mentioned. I was never really part of a mentoring program as a kid because I moved around a lot. But I feel like there were different people in my life who did play a mentor type role. Um, so for example, in Houston, I have my dad has 12 siblings, so I have a bunch of cousins, and most of them are located in Houston. So I felt like my family played a big role in mentorship for me. And then as I moved and progressed in my education and my career, I started to get mentors that kind of accumulated along the way. And so at this time in my life, I do have one mentor. He's great. He is at Pfizer actually at the moment. He's helped me so much with like work, trying to figure out what I want to do after college, what I'm doing right now, trying to help me see what potential avenues I can go down for my career path and trajectory. He's also great. Like he's very empathetic and also very passionate about helping others. And so in addition to family, I feel like this one mentor of mine who I met probably like 10 years ago at this point, is like one of my like favorite mentors and like the one that's played the biggest role in my life at the moment.
I think that's very interesting. I know you said I think family is a big part of, our mentorship experience as youth and as adults. I think they're ones who stay with us. And I agree that they're a really important aspect. And then also you talked about like the two important qualities in a mentor, being empathetic, being passionate. And that if they're empathetic and passionate, then they can guide you. And then obviously whoever is their mentoring. So I think that that's a very important, those are two important qualities to have in a mentor. So, did you have a mentor who made you passionate about pursuing this cause? Was that the Pfizer one you were talking about? Like in terms of how you joined the mentor organization?
My Pfizer mentor, I love the name that we've come up with. He was more of a mentor who helps me with like my career, but not specifically my advancement into this organization or this
Mhm.
field. Um, I've actually been part of a professionals network that I volunteered at for like maybe 5 years. And so I would volunteer like 30 to 40 hours a week. And it was basically pairing young professionals with career, like people who are in the career path that these young professionals are interested in. And so a lot of that, like trying to understand what young professionals are interested in, and then trying to focus on what type of like personnel in that career would be a good fit for them, is something that kind of attracted me to mentor, because a lot of it is finding a placement, but then a lot of it is also trying to understand what a mentee is looking for and how a mentor can help them find that. So during my time volunteering at this professionals network, I've been given the opportunity to put on a lot of their virtual events. And so because of that, I got into events, and also during my time at Pfizer, I did a lot of their events. And so that kind of, both of those kind of combined led me to wanting to pursue something in the mentoring field. I do have a story actually about my little brother, who is probably the main force that drove me towards this. He in Chicago, he's a year and a half younger than me. And in Chicago, when we were kids, he was bullied a lot as like a Muslim boy with a very Muslim name. And so because of that, he had to be taken out and homeschooled. And that definitely affected him as like a third grader at this point, and his mental health. And so because of that, I just always saw how he persevered through that, because it's so easy to say, I don't want to ever go to school again, or I don't ever want to like walk into like gymnasium doors or anything like that. But for him, he was excited to be homeschooled, I guess. Good for him. But he also had this mindset of, I'm going to overcome this and I'm going to come out better and stronger. And so when he was going through all of this, I always thought to myself, what if he had a mentor or someone gone through something like this, or someone who could guide him through this process? But he never really did. He never had like a formal mentor. Instead, he had his family. So I feel like in that sense, family acted as a mentor to him. And my little brother is actually my role model in that sense, because he was able to kind of come out of that a stronger person. And that also made me realize that like it's not the end all be all. Like there are ways in which other people can help you and bring you up. And he ended up going to grad school, undergrad and grad school. And so like he didn't let that stop him. And I'm really proud of my little brother.
I think that's a really wonderful story about like how your brother persevered. And I think what you
Yeah.
said is kind of defines, I guess, mentor's vision, right? People want to go there, and then how you said, I'm gonna come out better and stronger, right? That's the whole point of a mentor. And um I think is you're saying like your story really helped you be a part of the mentor organization, right? Like connect with them. And so I do think that mentoring, that's the power of it. I think you can come out stronger. It's not the end all be all, right? You can persevere, and as
Yeah.
your brother did, right? As his family being his mentor. And so that just shows the power of mentorship. If he was being bullied, mentors help you come out of that and come out to be better and stronger so you can face, your future. So that means that bullying incident doesn't define, it didn't define your brother, right? And so
Right.
it shouldn't, because and that was only possible with your family mentoring him. And so I actually think that that's like really the vision of mentor, right? That's the whole point of mentor and mentoring in general. So I think that that's a really wonderful story to share with our listeners. So can you tell us a bit about the progress we've seen in society when it comes to mentoring, and how we can further improve as a society in terms of mentoring advocacy? I know you talked about it a little bit with your brother, but what do you think can be done more, better?
Yeah. Sorry. So at Mentor, one of the main things that moves us forward is Bill Russell, who was one of the founding board members at Mentor National. So he always said there's no such thing as other people's children. And that's definitely something that we run with at Mentor, because there's not really, of course, there you have a child, but the youth is like one movement, right? We can't just single out one person. So obviously, in order to move, or not obviously, but for me, in order to move this movement forward, it's important to understand that there are youth everywhere that can always use a mentor. So at the moment, there are 1 in 3 youth who don't have access to a mentor. So mentor as an organization is trying to close that mentoring gap for the 1 in 3 youth that don't have access. And so I feel like ways in which we can move forward is understanding that, and then also understanding that, yes, there are mentorship programs that are out there for youth to take advantage of, but then there are also people who may not be part of actual like programs that exist. They could be like your next door neighbor, your mentor can be a teacher. And so there's so many different avenues in which you can find a mentor and where a mentor can find you. Another thing that I've noticed with young people is that they don't always need someone to help solve their problems for them. A lot of the time, as I've seen, a lot of young people they just want to have like an ear and have someone to talk to about something that's going on in their lives, not necessarily for you as a mentor to solve their problem that they're going through or like an obstacle that they're going over. And so that's another thing that is super important to realize and understand as well. So once we can understand all of that, we can be more open in how we respond to people with like young people with trauma or who are going through crises, and help them in a different manner than only always thinking about solving a problem.
Yes, I agree. I think that what you said is right. Oftentimes as youth, we don't need like, someone to fix all our problems for us, but
Right.
having a listening ear, I think that does a lot of it. And a lot of the times, as you said, people facing trauma, they don't have access to that, right? That's why 1 in 3 you don't have mentors. And so I think that that's right. A mentor can be anyone. You don't, it's sometimes hard for people to get into a professional network where they can connect with people, but a mentor can just really be anybody who you can trust. And those two qualities, empathetic, passionate, right? That's really what is needed for a mentor. So I think that that's really important for us to remember as, we move this mentoring advocacy, mentoring movement as mentor moves it forward. So, also, lastly, I just wanted to ask you if you have any final notes to share with our listeners in regards to mentoring. It could be specific to youth, or it could just be, in general advocacy, just anything you would like to add on for our users.
Yeah, I would just like to build upon my previous point about how a mentor can just by asking one question of how are you doing can make such a difference in someone's like future, honestly. Because a lot of the times when youth they feel, according to a few research studies that have been done, youth have so much happening internally and externally, whether it's at school, whether it's at home. And with all of this happening, as well as like social media on the side, where you're trying to kind of show your life, but in a different lens, you don't really show all the bad things that are happening, only the good things, and kind of having like an outside persona. With all of this happening, it can get a lot for a young person to bear, young person and an adult, but especially young people. And so just having someone there just to be there to listen to them, or just having someone who can guide them through something, just having one person can make such a difference. And whether it's you as a mentor, whether it's like your family member, like I said before, or your neighbor, like there's so many little things that can be done by so many people around you to make such a big difference.
Yes, I think what you said is really like impactful, right? Just what you do every day doesn't need to be a fancy, I'm your mentor, you're my mentee. It can just be
Mhm.
just everyday interactions and listening to someone, especially as you said with youth. Why we need it even more perhaps is because, our just external, internal pressures we're dealing with, social
Yeah.
media, school, academics, competition, right? So I think that That's really important, just having a listening ear, and you don't need to have a problem solver. You just need someone who can listen to you, who can support you on an everyday basis. And I think that that is really just what we got out of today. You shared your brother's story. He came out, successful with a mentor, and that's just one success story, but there's many that we can create through the power of mentorships. I think we should continue to advocate for our listeners. Make sure, just being kind every day, that can go a long way, and making sure you're supporting someone, right? As Khatidja's family supported her brother. We need to make sure we're all supporting each other, especially because, we're all in this together as youth, as adults, everyone. So that wraps up today's very interesting session with Khatidja Karimi from the Mentor Organization. We are so grateful for giving your time to us today, Khatidja, sharing with us your stories, sharing with us your experiences and your knowledge. Thank you so much. For our listeners, have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to subscribe to Talk It Out with Pritika Kharkwal for more content like this, and feel free to share your topic requests. I'm your host, Pritika Kharkwal, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Khatidja.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.